We're here today with Captain Paul Watson of the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society at Worldfest. Thank you for coming today.
Oh, thank you.
We heard a wonderful, wonderful speech that you did about how you are a pirate of compassion for the marine world. Tell us a little bit more about what you do. In brief, you go out and you help whales, you help all the different sea life, but what is it you really do?
Well, I set up the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society in 1977, not as a protest organization, but as an organization to directly intervene to uphold international conservation laws protecting marine wildlife. And we're empowered to do so by virtue of the UN World Charter for Nature that allows for non-government organizations to do this. So we're really a law enforcement organization opposing criminal operations that destroy marine wildlife.
Do you have support, or is there a lot of animosity towards what you do?
Well, we have a lot of animosity. We have a lot of support too. So people who are want to do something about upholding these laws and protecting marine wildlife, we have support there. But a lot of corporations and a lot of governments get pretty angry at what we do. But they have a vested interest. They're profiting off of the destruction in the oceans.
Did you think about this when you were a child, that you would be going out and making this kind of difference in the world?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I started getting involved when I was 9 years old, rescuing animals from trap lines, because I lived in rural eastern Canada, and I was releasing beavers from traps and actually destroying the traps and disrupting deer hunts and things like that. So I started pretty young.
Do you think that there has been a change, though, in the youth of, let's say, Canada and the different countries in being embarrassed by what their countries are doing?
I think that that certainly is true, that they're being embarrassed. I know the Canadians tend to, be very proud of this, but it's really a false pride, really, because I think there is a lot of embarrassment there, especially amongst younger people.
So I hear that you need just about $3 million to make it a next season. How do you keep going every season? Who supports you? What do you do to get up and make those people aware and say, we need your help again this year?
Well, it's really difficult. We're trying to raise the money. We're not a big organization, and it's not really a lot of money in many respects, like for instance, Christina Aguilera sings a song at a wedding, gets $3 million. Well, that amount of money would be enough to, to buy the ship that we need to go down and save 1,000 whales. So 1,000 whales are being targeted by the Japanese, and that works out to about $3,000 per whale to save them. So if the Japanese, they'll make about $1.5 million per whale to kill them. So what we're offering people is, look, here's a real chance to actually save whales and make a difference.
I think it's interesting what you brought up about, it's really about, they don't worry about extinction, and that the next step is they go to the next step, whatever is the next business. But there has to be within their country, I would think, people that would say there has to be the longevity of the creatures of the earth, especially some of the countries that have prided themselves in caring about nature. So where is this dichotomy, such as countries as Japan, where they have such beauty and then such destruction? Well,
the problem is that people have very short-term vision. They don't really look into the future that much, and when they wipe out one species, they just go on to another species. For instance, right now in restaurants in Paris and London, they serve a fish called turbot. Well, only 20 years ago, turbot was considered what they called in the industry a garbage fish. Nobody would eat that. It wasn't even worth catching. But since they wiped out everything else, now they go for turbot, and now people are paying the same kind of money for turbot that they used to pay for cod. So it's really an adaptation to diminishment. As things become more and more diminished, people just adapt to it.
So how do we find hope in thinking that there can be a change?
Well, we just have to continue doing what we're doing, buying time and space for species worldwide, and just hope that things will change. Either will change voluntarily, or it'll be changed involuntarily when the laws of ecology kick in and give us a lesson that we probably deserve.
Now, you have left a legacy in what you're doing. Are there others that are gaining strength to get behind you and follow in your legacy?
Well, I think that over the years that there's certainly been a growing movement. Like, for instance, in 1980, I remember nobody would know what a vegan was, and I remember in 1971 we had a billboard in the city of Vancouver, had one big word on it, ecology, and in small letters on the bottom it said, look it up. Nobody knew what it meant. So, I mean, education-wise, it certainly has been a success within the movement. People know more, and but the problem is that the problems are more and more. We have more problems now than we can deal with, and that's really because there's just too many people and everything else is being diminished.
As a last note, what gets you up in the morning and keeps you going?
Well, this is quite a challenge doing what we're doing, and so trying to get the ships to sea, trying to intervene against illegal fishing and whaling and everything like that. It's a pretty much a full-time endeavor.
But you have hope somewhere. That's what keeps you going, I'm assuming.
Well, sometimes, I think that the solution's impossible, but I think that impossible solutions are sometimes the only solutions that there are. I remember back in 1972, I was in South Africa, and I wrote an article about Nelson Mandela, and I couldn't get any newspaper or magazine in North America to publish it because, we don't do articles on terrorists. Well, the very idea that Nelson Mandela would one day be president of South Africa was not only unthinkable and unimaginable, it was impossible. But yet it happened, so the impossible can sometimes become possible.
We're going to share in that thought. And how can someone get involved as far as finding out more, donating to you, etc.? What is your website?
www.seashepherd.org. That's SEASHEPHERD.org.
Great. Thank you so much for all you do.
Thanks.
Thank you.